with a new tradition. Let me start with a Chinese saying. When the Chinese are very angry about someone, they don't insult him, they don't curse him. They say, "May you live in interesting times." And that's exactly what we do. We live in extremely interesting times. Now you were so polite and keep the 70s in my biography low, but as someone who had a revolutionary decade behind myself as part of my biography, I'm still thrilled by interesting times. Because my experience as a politician in the opposition and in the office, member of government, is that in normal times, I wouldn't say in boring times, but in normal times, it's very, very complicated to pursue substantial changes. Everything is fixed. It's firm. But in interesting times, suddenly structures became fluid. You can rearrange basics, fundamentals, what you can't do in normal times. So it's not only a huge challenge to live in interesting times, it's also a great opportunity. And allow me to turn my face and your face backwards for some minutes. If we think back what the generation of my parents and grandparents had to go through everywhere in Europe. These times are interesting, but at least in Europe they are peaceful. And that's, we shouldn't forget, the biggest achievement of NATO and EU. We, our generation, experienced the early 90s in the Balkans, up to 98, 99, when war came back to Europe, the atrocities, the disaster. It was not only the military intervention based on the military might of the United States and its European allies. It was also the strategic perspective for the people in the Balkan, in the Western Balkan region, to be part of Europe, that they laid down their arms and tried to find peaceful ways into a common future. So if we talk about Europe in crisis, we shouldn't forget the huge achievements. Especially nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, my impression is that we forget almost on a daily basis the achievements which Europe had brought for us everywhere. I was the first time in 1966 in your countries, a few months before the military coup happened. This was a different city at that time, a different country. We shouldn't forget the achievements which Europe meant for all of us. Democracy, rule of law, and overall peace, economic development. This altogether is a result of decades of European integration. And nowadays we live again in interesting times. It It started in 1989 in my country when the wall came down. It was a major change in history. And since then, we experienced the wars in the Balkans. We experienced 9/11. We experienced the collapse of a global financial system. And we are experiencing nowadays a huge crisis which is also linked to recent developments on the southern shores of the Mediterranean, which has started a form of Arab revolution. It's our neighborhood. It's not only the neighborhood of Greece. It's a European neighborhood. If things will go wrong, we will share the consequences for all of us. So Europe is a huge success story, the EU. And it's very precious for our future. We shouldn't forget that. If you look around, and now let me turn myself more to the future. We are living in a fast-changing world. The old world, which was based on a Eurocentric Atlantic world perspective, Europe and America, is fading away. We are witnesses of a shift of wealth and power from west to east. Many of you, sorry,
this is Frau Merkel.
I forgot. It's a nice one. Many of you will experience that during your lifespan, the consequences of these major shifts. And the question will be not what will happen to the Germans, to the Greeks, to the French, to the Spaniards, to the Italians, to the Luxembourgians. The question will be what will happen to the Europeans. From outside, from the perspective of outside Europe, ladies and gentlemen, we are seen as Europeans. And talking to Chinese or Indian counterparts, when they speak about Europe, there is a certain smile in their face. We are seen as rich, old, and weak. These are not good conditions in this emerging new global environment, believe me. And we cannot wait until our cousins from the other side of the Atlantic will once again help us. They won't. They have enough problems for themselves. And we cannot hope that the new powers will give us a helping hand. Why should they? And their memory with the European dominance in the last centuries is not the best one, believe me. Why should they? So the only one who will take care about us will be the Europeans, or nobody will care about us. Therefore, Europe in crisis, yes, I agree to that thesis, must be seen as an opportunity for Europe. The crisis started with the collapse of the global financial system, and the ramifications can be seen today.